What? Oh, yeah, all I heard was Chris. So I'm going to record our demo today. So today, we are going to work collaboratively. So I need some volunteers. Dwayne is going to volunteer.
Because I'm having any problems and you might be able to help.
Okay. Who else would like to volunteer? Huh? Would you like to volunteer, Deanna?
Yes.
Are you up and running on GitHub?
I think I can do it.
Okay. So what I need from my volunteers, are you guys both running GitHub desktop?
Yes.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I don't have a written out lecture for this, so we're just going to wing it.
Wing it.
She's only 17. That's what I think of, Kip Winger.
It would be appropriate to design something to work on with information.
I would stick around because design team, you are eventually going to have to do this as well. You may be working just on style sheets with the rest of everybody, but you will need to, in other words, this is a good question, by the way. Because here's what we're going to talk about today. This little graphic here, okay? So this is where, yes, initially developers 1 and developer 2 are going to be setting this up and using this way. That being said, eventually designer 1 and designer 2, and if you have a designer 3 on your team, right, will also need to then clone the theme repository and set up a local environment on their own machines, or if you are going to be not using your own laptop. Did you get Cloud9 up and running? Did you get a WordPress install on it? Yeah? Okay. Another question, have you cloned your theme or cloned your repository into your themes folder? Okay. So that's what we will then talk about. So in this demo, I am going to try to run this as a demo without actually finishing some of the steps. In other words, I don't want to clone some stuff and overwrite stuff, but I will show you how to do things, okay? So essentially, let's pretend that Dwayne and Piano and I are developers working on the theme here, which our staging server is at wireframe.premiumdw.com. Okay, so what we're looking at right now would be this right here. Okay, this development staging area that I need to log into via SSH. Okay, so how to log into SSH. How many of you have ever logged into your development staging server or a remote server via SSH? Only a couple of you. What does SSH stand for, Dwayne?
Secure sockets layer.
You sure?
Yeah, secure sockets.
SSH?
Secure sockets handling.
Okay. Because I don't know what SSH actually stands for.
Okay, well, that's why I don't know.
Secure shell.
Secure shell.
Oh, okay.
is what it stands for.
I can tell.
In other words, if and when you are on the DreamHost machine, and you are looking at users, why does Mark Pfaff still have shell access? Who let that slide? Me?
Oh yeah. Damn it, I'm not even on.
Well, of course you're not on here.
Don't make it like it's my fault.
I'm just kidding. So when Mark was doing some work for me on another account, I gave him shell access. Okay. So there are user access types. SFTP, Secure File Transfer Protocol. FTP, File Transfer Protocol. Shell, which means that I can then log into my server via command line terminal. Okay, so how to do that? Any of you, so first and foremost on your, how many of you are using DreamHost as your staging server? Okay, so have you set up one universal user, or have you set up, or are you using whoever user you are? Does that make sense? All separate users. Okay. So you can't run 4 different users on one account. In other words, on one staging server. I don't think. Maybe you can now. Let's see. In other words, if I go look for wireframe.premiumdw.com, user Emson Kula. So I don't know if you can add multiple users there. I think that's going to create problems. So you can do one of two things. You can leave it where one person on your team is the only one that is using command line git pull origin master to the server, right? Which might be recommended, okay? Or you can set up a user like you can see the one above, where when I was at the University of Washington doing some stuff there, we set up a user WebLab UX, so everybody could have, could sign in under that name. But Emson Kula then has shell access, okay? So what does that mean? I can then use terminal on my MacBook. I don't know what it is on a PC. What's the command line stuff? Putty is one. Anybody? Who's ever logged in on a PC command line? None of you guys?
Use the command prompt. That's what
Yeah,
CMD.
I'm talking about command line. So is that the same?
Is it PowerShell? Is that the one?
I don't know. Putty? Okay. You might have to use Putty. So says John. It's John, right? Yeah. So basically then, I am now running Emson Kula as a user right now. So I don't have to put in my username if I don't want to, but I am going to right now. So the command then I'm going to run is SSH. I want to log in via secure shell using the username Emson Kula at ps16781.dreamhost.com. Okay, so I'm on a private server on DreamHost. Now, remember that you are on a server running different domains on DreamHost. So when you FTP in, you can use your domain name as your server. I generally don't do that. I generally use my actual server name. So some of you may be on servers like Oilers at, Oilers.dreamhost, etc. Okay, so whatever server you're on at dreamhost.com. Password. What's my password?
Password 123.
Password 123. Totally worked. Okay. So
I'm trying to get to what?
I know. So I'm logged in now to my server. My server is running Ubuntu, which is something that Amazon Web Server runs as well, right? Whatever software, whatever, whatever that is. There are things that I just take for granted, and just say, oh, it's an Ubuntu server. So what I want to do now, or what I can do, is if I want to run the command ls, okay? So here are all the domains and subdomains. Right? So what I want to do is I want to find wireframe.premiumdw and get into that folder or that. So what am I going to do? CD wire tab, and it'll complete it for you. Yeah.
If it's a Linux server, doesn't it require the CD space / wireframe? Instead of be root to wireframe?
I don't know. All I know is that I just changed directory into wireframe.premiumbw, and I run ls, and I see all my WordPress files.
So it doesn't tell you on this thing that you're actually in the directory that you've moved to.
Right. Unlike terminal where it shows you a folder.
Okay.
PWD.
What? PWD?
I know that command apparently in the class.
Okay. I know limited commands. I'm not that good of a dog.
I get it.
I'm trying to switch to dad jokes, you guys. CD, WP, content, themes. What? Oh. Mics, 960 wireframe. So I am now in my themes folder. Okay. So if I was ready to then say git pull origin master, that one was password 456. Already up to date, meaning I haven't made any changes. It's my server here is all up to date. Okay. So let's say then I opened the MAMP. Now I'm running MAMP Pro, okay? So MAMP Pro, I can, unlike, how many of you are using MAMP? Okay, so if you're running MAMP,
What else option besides MAMP?
What?
What else option? You don't use MAMP.
Whatever you want.
RAM is for PCS together. But
What?
RAM is for Mac.
MAMP is both PC and Mac.
MAMP has a download for Windows on their website.
Yeah.
So you can use MAMP for Windows too.
Windows.
You can use whatever you want. I'll leave it at that.
I think she's looking for
Right. And that's why I'm saying she can use whatever she wants. See what I'm saying? I don't have a recommendation. I don't use PCs. I'm allergic. But again, I'm trying not to spoon feed you guys so much, right? In other words, what else should I use? Whatever you want. Do some research, figure it out. Test some stuff out, see what you like, right? It's kind of what I'm saying. Does that mean? A little bit? Okay. So if you're using MAMP, right, you could, so this right here where it says localhost 888 MAMP, right, this is pointing to this htdocs folder. So if I then said, I don't know if I have this WordPress install actually running here, but if I had, how many of you are running regular MAMP and you have your WordPress install in the htdocs folder? Okay, so if you did, then you would go localhost WordPress. Oh, look at that. I do have a 210 install in there. Nifty. Hello, world. So apparently I did that example at one point in time. Right? You know how you just don't remember things that you've done before, Alec? That's my life these days. That's called being middle-aged with children. Moving on. So with MAMP Pro, however, I have all of these set up in their own folders, meaning if I want to look at Premium Design Works and my server is running and I launch it, host 8888888888888.
The exact same thing. Yeah.
Do I?
Yes.
See, I don't even remember it. No idea. Smoke too much weed, man. So that is being pulled from this folder right here. So the thing about MAMP Pro is if you have projects and clients and stuff, right, that you want to just keep stuff in an HTML folder, right, you can then run, in other words, I'm launching the WordPress install from my hard drive using MAMP, okay? So if I wanted to then go at wireframe.premiumdw.com in the HTML folder, okay? Using MAMP then, I have configured this to that wireframe premium DW folder, that local folder, right? So if I select new document routes, right, I'm already on the HTML folder in that project folder. HTML folder in that project folder instead of just pointing to the project folder. Who can tell me why? Right, so I don't want to accidentally upload all my PSD files to Edison or whatever server space. Okay, so that's how I keep my stuff organized. Is I'll do a raster pixel folder, a vector folder, and then an HTML folder, right? So now I want to, because I pointed to that folder, I'm using MAMP Pro, I can then launch it. If it were sitting in my htdocs folder, right, and I was using the free MAMP, okay? So right now, this is my local version. Right here. So if I'm developer 1, I am developing locally using MAMP. So does that make sense? Does this kind of answer the question that we were having, Liz, a little bit? In other words, this is actually pulling from the HTML files on my hard drive. And Chrome is then using MAMP as a server to launch it. No, I just put everything in an HTML folder, and just like if I were in Dreamweaver or another program and I needed to point to wherever I was on the server to run it from that HTML folder, right? If you're using the free version of MAMP, you are just going to put your install in this htdocs folder. So if your WordPress install, your local install, we're working together, and you're running just the free version of MAMP, then you would put your local install in the htdocs folder under MAMP. And that will run localhost 888888888888888. Okay? / WordPress. Because it's finding this folder using MAMP. Okay? So now, if then I want to, I'm in wireframe, and I want to go into my WP content folder, and I want to go into themes, and I'm using Mike's 960 wireframe. And I open style.css using brackets. And let's say I want to do some dumb edit like change this border on the header from 1 pixel solid black to 1 pixel solid magenta. And here I am at my local version. In Chrome, Chrome's cache is really, really sticky these days. It's really annoying.
Yeah, you have the hard reload a lot.
What I typically do is I found a different way of doing it. See this network right here? What do you mean by hard reload?
So if you have Inspector open
Uh-huh.
and you click and hold or right click on the refresh arrow in the top left, keep going further left, all the way left by the home button. Right click or click and hold. You can do that right there.
Oh my Lord, really?
Empty cache and hard reload, yeah.
Oh my God, why didn't anybody ever show me that before? Thanks, Dan.
Spent hours trying to figure out a problem when we find out it was cache.
How come I've never known? How come I've never known about that?
Because it only shows up with inspector open.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. Dan just won the class.
Keyboard shortcut.
Dan just assured himself a 4.0 in this class. Right? So anyhow, so getting back to this then, I now have, hold on, let me go back to elements. So basically I made an edit locally and made my header border magenta, okay? But if I go to the actual remote server one and refresh, it's still black. If I go to this one and I view page source and I go and I view the style sheet, it says magenta. If I go to the remote one and I view the style sheets, it says black. Why?
Because you're working locally and it's not being pushed up to the.
Correct. I'm only working locally right now. Okay. So let's say I'm in a team environment and I just made some changes. Okay. And I want to send these changes to GitHub while getting somebody else's changes from GitHub. I'm going to open the GitHub desktop. If I go to Mike's 960 wireframe, it's telling me that I made a change here and I deleted some of our old stuff. Okay, so now if I go to the GitHub machine, I should see a comment here, changed header border to magenta. And if I go to style.css, if I open it here, sure enough, I'll see magenta. And if I go to history here, change header border to magenta, it shows me what it used to be, what it is now. And I can leave a comment to myself. Okay, for all to see. So now what I need to do is I need to add developer 2 onto this repository. How do I find you, Dwayne?
SE-Lindy-LIMD.
Go accept.
Would that be in the email or notifications or?
I don't know. Log into your GitHub.
I am logged in. I'm gonna check my email.
Look right here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's in my email.
Okay, did you accept?
I'm about to.
Okay, so here's, once you've accepted this mission, I have another mission for you. Okay. So, all of you,
I've accepted the adventure.
okay, so let me do it like this. If I was joining one of you guys, like let's say I was going to be a developer on your team, I would want to clone this theme into my themes folder. Now, I can't make edits and push to GitHub because you haven't added me as a collaborator, okay? But what I want you to do now, Dwayne, is you don't have to put this in your themes folder because all you're going to do is edit the style sheet, and we're going to do some demos. But let's pretend like you were running this as a local install, you had set it up in WordPress, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, okay? So we'll go back here. So Dwayne, go ahead then to GitHub. To my Mike's 960 wireframe, clone, open in desktop, and it will say, where do you want to save it? You can just save it on your desktop for right now, okay? Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to open the style sheet and change this from magenta to another color.
Okay, changing it to gold.
Oh, you weren't supposed to tell us.
Oh, okay, I can change it.
Because Alec and I were going to take bets on what color it was.
Okay, change it back. That's on you.
What do you have? What do you have? You tell me what you have.
Okay, change it. I'm not gonna tell you. Because I'm not.
Red?
$5?
I know that's for money.
So now, Dwayne,
Yeah.
go to GitHub Desktop.
Yep.
And you see some edits, right?
I am trying to find the edit I just made. Yeah, I see some edits.
Okay. Now, make a comment, push it to GitHub.
Actually not seeing the one I made. Let me see it. Oh, God. Let me reload this. Oh, there we go. Okay. committed and in sync.
Blue. We both lost, Alec.
Darn.
Okay. So if I then go to change magenta to blue, Dwayne changed it from magenta to blue. I go to GitHub. I say sync. I have Dwayne's change. I go back to my local demo. I do a hard reload. Now, on my local machine, I have Dwayne's changes. Okay? So that's how then we have pushed and pulled. I'm going to leave it at that piano. I'm just going to leave it at me and Dwayne. Okay? So I'm developer one, Dwayne is developer two, and basically what we're doing is we are working on this WordPress theme together. Let's say that I then said, you know what? Great, Dwayne, you've chosen blue for the header. And I have to, ooh, look at that. It changed it to blue in my CSS. And I'm going to say, you know what? Something needs to be magenta.
That's it.
What?
Does it?
Does it?
Does it?
Okay. Yes, yes, it does. You know why?
Can't lie.
Answer. Play the game correctly. I'm going to click here because this is where I just made edits. Commit and sync. Right. So now let's say Dwayne and I have decided that the header needs to be blue and the navigation needs to be magenta. And we're ready to show this crap to Mike in our internal review.
Yay!
Mike wants to see it on the staging server, and right now, it's not on the staging server. Okay? But previously, Mike had logged in to the theme folder via SSH. And he's going to run the command again, git pull origin master. Password 123.
I thought you said it was 4 or 5.
Oh, 456, sorry. That's right. So basically, now what happened was via SSH, my server went to GitHub and pulled the latest code from GitHub. So now, remotely, I love you, Dan. I love you, man. Now my demo that we can show to Mike for internal review has a blue header and a pink navigation. Okay? Does everybody understand that's how this works? Yes? Okay. There's some missing pieces there. First, I will answer questions about that.
Can you use pull on the terminal if you don't want to use the desktop? Or do you have to sync it via that way?
Are you talking here?
Yeah, when you sync.
No idea.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Because I use it in, I use the desktop app. You're using command line for everything, right? Yeah. You go, girl. What?
Well, she could show us how to do that.
It's the same thing, just you're using PuTTY instead of terminal.
I'm looking up stuff and downloading stuff. And it's not helpful.
Okay. Is John your partner on the team?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'll take care of it. Right, John? Look at how happy he is about it. Dwayne.
I have SSH set up. When I try to do the git clone on my remote server to clone my git onto my repost site,
Uh-huh.
I end up with permission denied.
Yeah, because you don't have keys yet.
Right.
We'll get there.
Okay.
At the beginning of this whole thing, you said that only one person probably going to be able to do the push to the pull from GitHub to the server.
Uh-huh. Well, if you know the password, you know, the username and password, whoever can do it, right? But there's nothing like, you did what? Right? So,
Having only one person.
well, I mean, how many keys to your house do you want to give to people? Or your apartment? I mean, I know it's not the same, but, you know, it's kind of like that. You can have multiple people do it. I'm just saying that, you know, if one person is in control of doing the pull from GitHub to the server, right? Yeah. Who else had questions? Dan?
So if I go to DreamHost, right, and I create a second user,
Uh-huh.
not my primary, right?
Uh-huh.
On my, I mean, it gives them their own home directory. Therefore, when I logged in.
Which is not what you want. That's
Exactly.
what I'm saying.
Exactly, yeah, you can't get to my domains through that.
Right, right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That won't work. Because I've switched users on a project and all of a sudden where did that, what happened?
Right. There's nothing-
Yeah. Yeah. So stick with the user that you set up.
Which is the original one on the domain, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And whoever is the one that has the server space, the one that should be running the Git, pull, origin, master stuff. Okay. But again, you know, it's all how you guys want to do it. Any other questions? So, Dwayne,
Yep.
you got here and to look. What was it? Huh? Right, which you see what I'm saying? Shh. swear to God, you guys. So when you tried to log in, you got a permission denied error, right?
Nope, I'm able to log in just fine. I just can't run GitHub.
Oh, that's right. That's what you
And
got
I
the
think
permission
because
denied.
I have a GitHub SSH key generated. I have a copy on my local machine and the other copy on my GitHub account. I just need to copy my local copy key to my remote server, which I think it did, but then it still picks out.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So this is where I am going to show you where these directions live, and I am not going to actually run through this demo. In other words, I am not going to create keys and clone to the server. But here's what you need. Just like you cloned this repository locally, you need to clone that repository to your server in order for all this to work. So, Thomas Wilburn created these resources when he was teaching the class. So if you go to these resources and you go to this one, EC2, WordPress, and Git, forget the Amazon web server stuff. You want to then authenticate the server with GitHub. Okay? So this is where you need to create a set of SSH keys, the public and private key pair, so and I go to settings. I have then this ps1678dreamhost.com key, right? Which I can't remember. I think this is the public one, and the one that's on my server is the private one. Okay? I can't remember. But you need to generate, first log into your server using SSH, right? Where, I guess I could do this if I wanted to.
I think that's where I ran into the problem because it was locally instead of remote.
Yeah, not the local, the remote one. So in other words, you need to have a pair that is on GitHub and your remote server. Right, right. So if I run then SSH logged in, GitHub, are you not responsive? SSH dash okay. Keygen
Player to subfolder.
I don't know.
Let's find out.
Let's find out. T RSA P 4096. Maybe I do have to go back to. Start over. That's what we're testing. Oh, it just asked me to enter a passphrase, didn't it, last time? And I didn't do a passphrase.
Correct. Because you went to change directory and it asked you to re-enter.
Yeah. Too many arguments. QGNT RSA B 409. Oh, I forgot the C.
Did you hit the up arrow?
Let me just do it.
Also, I don't think it's
You know when you're talking on the phone and somebody is like talking in your ear while you're talking on the phone? It's kind of like that. So let me just run this really quickly, please. Understand. Enter file.
Says on the resources, the utility will ask you some questions, but just hit enter.
Yeah. So basically, already exists. Do you want to overwrite? No, I don't. Right? So basically, when you do that, right, look at this screenshot here. And then what it'll do is it'll generate this random image thing, right? And then what you need to do is go to GitHub. Create a new key, name it, right? And then add new SSH key, not GPG key. SSH key, right? Name it. Is go back here, run this command. Grab what it asks you to grab, paste that into that field, add key. So you will have your private public key pairs generated. Does that make sense? I'm not going to do that because I'd have to delete or overwrite my, okay? Just print out the page and read through it, and we can walk through it together, right? Put it this way: who is the owner of the server on each team? Raise your hand. Okay. Whoever owns the server is the one that's going to run this.
Looks exciting.
Okay, and will be the one to do the git pull. Okay. Yes, piano.
I'm using share hosting. Do I have to change my hosting?
On DreamHost?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think shared hosting on DreamHost is fine. I believe we've had that question in the past, and it's fine. Okay. So now, once you do that public-private key pair, what you need to do then is clone the repository as a theme into your themes folder on your server. So that's where, via SSH, right, you would navigate to right? And so when you're, actually, you would go back one. Okay, how do I go back one, Dan? Just you, CD what? Dot? Great. So if I wanted to clone then the theme into my themes folder, right, I would navigate to the themes folder and run go to the themes folder and run this command right here, which will clone your repo into your themes folder on your server. Okay? So therefore, when you wanted to pull from GitHub to your server, as long as you had the key pairs made and you cloned your theme onto your server, it's going to GitHub and your theme, your clone, are going to talk to each other. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Now, who did I cut off with the questions? Because I'm a dick. Dwayne.
So it wasn't a question, it was more like, I discovered that when making the SSH keys remotely on the server, it doesn't matter where you are in the server.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay.
It doesn't, it writes it to the same location.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
/.ssh.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks. Thanks. Any other questions? Dick isn't cussing. That's not swearing.
I don't believe it's classified as being
It's
vulgar.
not. That's not swearing? Okay. You can say that on TV, right?
Yes.
Okay. Make sense?
Can you show us again from the beginning?
Here's what I can do. Here's what I can do. I'm going to give you all your goddamn quiz right now.